Good morning. My name is Matt Wren, and I'm the founder and host of VRAR Chicago. This is an event that takes place about once a month in Chicago, usually at 1871, where we talk about virtual reality and augmented reality and how it's being applied today across different industries each month. It's an event that helps people who are in the industries try to figure out how to use the technology, and people who are using the technology try to figure out how to break into certain industries and help them there. And obviously, with what's happening in the world right now with social distancing because of coronavirus, we couldn't hold the event in person, but it still provides valuable content, so we didn't want to cancel it. So what we decided to do was we hosted it in virtual reality using AltSpace. And seeing as this is a problem that mostly every event in the world is facing right now, I wanted to show people how we did it, just in case it helps if someone else is facing the same problem. So what I did was during the event, I had a multiple camera setup, one behind me, one in front of me, as well as a couple of screen captures showing, like, here's the actual software setup that I used, here's the system setup I used. I did have two computers running. One was doing the streaming, the other one was managing the event and the slide presentations and things like that. And so I've got the entire 2-hour event recorded here, and I wanted to show you, with technical glitches and all, exactly how it went down, in case, again, this maybe helps you run your own event. So with no further introduction, here we go. Hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions, and please follow us, vrarchicago.com, facebook.com/vrarchicago to see the actual recording of the live stream. And, we hope to see you at our next event. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
It's already seen it or used it.
Next VR, I'm not that familiar with.
All right. Well, for those who don't know, that app is pretty. I found it very interesting because it has the option for, like, comedians and live events to be streamed by VR. So basically, you can be like you can have a VIP sitting right there in front of a comedian, or like a boxing match. And,
yeah, I've seen a couple of those. They actually do live performance stuff in this application as well.
Yeah, I never seen like I always see like the avatars of the halls, but I have never seen a live performance when you can actually see the actual person.
I haven't seen this recently. I do recall a long time ago being in here and kind of being surrounded in a 360 video of performance. I don't know if they still are doing that one.
It's pretty cool.
Going to gateway technical.
The next VR is just
Our teachers actually use it to these
facial
aware.
like this.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, the only thing with that one is like you can have people in there, like it'll be just you, but this one, the difference, this one you can have a lot of people.
Try to get your attention.
But it's something where the industry might be moving towards, especially right now with this thing with the virus and stuff.
Gotcha.
It's a very interesting avatar.
Question for you. What is this live stream on? Facebook, but what page?
Facebook.com/VRAR Chicago/live.
With this virus and stuff. Yeah, I know one can still hear him.
It's a very interesting avatar.
Interesting avatars?
Hello, I'm back.
Question for you.
Mr.
What is
Bob.
this live stream on? Facebook, but what page?
Facebook.com. I need to make sure that I mute the Facebook stream, otherwise I hear the echo of it about 15 seconds after it plays.
Bye.
Hi, Rainbow.
There we go.
Well,
Alright, we are waiting to see when Meg gets here. That's going to be kind of important since she's one of the presenters.
I'm back.
So, were you saying something about like they made it for glass for like talk about structural press? Can you hear me well?
Can it be heard? We have 44 people in the room.
You just maybe too far when you use your mic, but it's okay.
And I have a little seat set up with the structure also.
And that way people can meet there. I'll have it probably by Friday.
Okay.
And then we'll have examples in there. People can go over there, work through the examples together.
Oh, that's great.
You can't really see everybody in person anymore.
So what time will be on Friday? What time will be on Friday?
I don't know. I don't know. So that's trying to try to put down more tomorrow night during class.
Okay.
All right. Moving on time. It is 6:06, and the room is filling up. We've got about 45 people in here right now. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Good. How are you?
Thank you for friend requesting me. I will do all that afterwards. I'm not going to look too much to it now. I'll like to find out when Miss Meg Miller. Oops, looks like Meg is here, and she's in her.
What do you do up in Ontario?
Can you hear me? I
So
teach at a community college, but normally when I'm on Saturn, just we used to help faculty integrate VR into their curriculum.
megaphone.
Yes.
We're just getting it trying it out. Because
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Are you from Chicago?
This is our first attempt at having students.
Of course. Yep. That was my plan.
Yeah. That's really community.
No, it's all.
Of course. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's not nearly the same experience. You can get from the
I was trying to talk to him.
I don't know. He's asking if we're from Chicago.
He's touching out. Yeah. Here.
Good. I think I'm on mute, but I'm not sure. Wait a minute, wait. Did you find me?
Hey,
Hiding over there.
I was just laughing at the person
Yeah.
stuck up in the pole.
That's actually me. That's the other. That's one of my other accounts that's currently live on Facebook.
Oh, got it. I was like, wow, somebody really teleported us there.
No, it's a good spot because it's kind of hard to get in front of them so that it can't run the live stream, and also it's got a good view of the room.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
This is amazing.
Okay, yeah.
So we got about 7 more minutes and we'll get started.
Sounds good.
Western Illinois University. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and Bloomington, Illinois State. Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, tell us anything you're trying to click on buttons.
I wish I went there instead.
Okay, well.
Now, what kind of headset are you using? Oculus Go.
Oh, that's why.
I have I could tell because I have two hands. See? I only have one hand.
Yeah.
Oh, with the Go, you can only have one hand? Yeah, it's just a controller, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this hand moves and the other hand, whatever it is. It's there. It's down at your right side. Yeah. I like it a lot. It's pretty good. It has a lot of apps on it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of common apps.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know the Quest is going to get more.
Okay. Yeah, I figured. It's just funny. I'm picking up so many random bits of
I
conversation.
love it. In fact, with this stay at home, I've been doing some workouts, like in Box VR. So, you know. Oh, the boxing? Yeah, it's called Box. I think it's called Boxing VR.
Can you hear me?
And you just do
Can you hear me?
a routine, and you're just punching these orbs that come at you.
Say something,
But it,
because I cannot.
it helps you burn some calories and What's the cardio? I'm actually going to get a Quest myself, but from what I heard, the backed up right now is hard to get right now. Yeah, I think that's right. Nice to meet you. I have to wait
I'll be back on noise. Okay, so I'm letting everybody know. Hello, welcome once again. In about 5 minutes, we are going to mute the audience. I'll give you a warning in about 60 seconds. Just because there's a lot of noise going on here for the screen. So thank you for coming. We'll talk again in a few seconds. That was 5 minutes before we start the program.
And I love it because, I can't go anywhere pretty much, I'm at the store,
Ok, look, va a empezar en 5 minutos. Después de qué se trata, si no está interesante, pues nos salimos. Okay.
No, this is my first time ever hearing about this right now.
Oh, okay.
I've been to a couple of those. I was on a panel for one of them.
I'll be right back, man.
It is very
No, pues que se quitó.
Yeah.
Se,
Meetings are good. Yeah, that is great.
no
I kind of don't really understand what this is about. I gather it's architecture and engineering and something like that. Right. So the meetings they have first Wednesday of every month revolves around a certain so like last four. Maybe not as interesting, but
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm back.
was training. Human resources. So, and then it's how businesses are using AI.
I was actually having a conversation with someone at the office today because they were like, oh, I'm really interested in virtual spaces, and obviously all the architects are always thinking about space. And I was like, oh, I'm going to an event in virtual space actually, and so it was a good timing.
Yeah, if you have an interest in
It's interesting to hear like architects actually thinking about this kind of stuff.
engineering, I think they'll appreciate this block. Definitely, yeah. I minored in marketing, business marketing was my minor. So, yeah, that's I think like education seminars. They are called educators or something like that. So you're educators.
Wow. Yeah.
Presentations on VRAR and things like that.
Wow.
So it's really pretty good,
Yeah. That's the new normal. That's
I'm near retirement age, so now I'm just consulting and helping companies figure out ways to use these types of technologies. Yeah, I'll just say real quick, I am right now a substitute teacher. I'm 58. 58 years old? Yeah. Okay, I got to be right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
You don't sound very old. Yeah, your avatar, you don't look 58 years old. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, sounds good. And I'll bounce to other rooms as I need to.
Well, I definitely do. I see a couple.
Never keep there.
Very good. Well, I hope the session is beneficial for you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I hope so.
Are you going to watch or are you on stage tonight?
Aquí estoy, bro.
Alright, hello everybody. We are going to leave you in a couple of seconds, so if you don't mind, take about 30 seconds to finish up the conversation. Try to take a seat where you're not blocking somebody else's view.
friend is it?
And we are going to mute
Okay,
in about
good.
30 seconds.
Here, I'll do that right now.
We'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Yep, done.
Yeah, just give me some.
Oh, okay, véngase.
Nice to meet you.
All right, got quiet anyway. I'm just going to mute. Here we go.
Might as well.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming. This is a bit of a new experience for us. We are trying this out. But welcome. This is the VRAR Chicago meetup. For those of you who have never been here before or never been to our event live, we generally host a meeting at 1871 in Chicago every single month. And we're talking about virtual reality and augmented reality, and we are here to present how this technology is being used in the real world today. The goal of the event is really more about you guys and getting your questions answered. So what we do is every month we pick an industry topic and we bring in experts from that industry who are using virtual reality and augmented reality today, and we basically have them give a short presentation about what they're doing and what their area of expertise is, so that you know what questions you can ask them and so that you can kind of see what's going on in the industry and have a good just sort of feel for what's happening. This month, the topic is AEC, so Architecture, Engineering, Construction. We were actually meant to, at this month, promo a partnership that we have with the, there's a convention that was supposed to take place in Chicago called AEC Next in June 3rd through 5th, but that convention has now been postponed, and we were actually going to have a very big VR and AR component to that show and partner with it. But it's been postponed. The temporary or tentative dates right now are July 27th to 29th, but I don't know if that's confirmed yet or if it's just going to cancel. Again, normally we do this event in person. It's obviously a little bit different doing it here, but thank you all for coming. This is the first time we're trying it here exclusively. We did actually simulcast one of our events into AltSpace back in February of 2018. But that said, let's go over really quick what's going to happen tonight. So the way that this event works, normally we always start with some networking because it's great for the people in the space to get to know each other. Ultimately, the networking is one of the most valuable parts of the event, just so that different people who are working in the industry get to meet each other and talk to each other. I do have this presentation behind me. We'll be switching that live. And I have my guest on stage with me, who's Meg Miller. Meg, are you actually wearing a headset so you can wave? There we go.
I am.
One of our presenters, you know, as we are finding when we come into virtual spaces like this, one of our presenters could not be here. So we actually recorded her presentation. Sorry, I'm going to move so that I'm out of the way of the slide deck. There we go. And then Meg is, you know, Meg, you can come in or how, you know, you can do what you want until you have to present. But basically, here's how this is going to go. So first, I do want to thank our sponsors that have always, for the last several years, helped us. You can see their logos on the bottom of the screen. They're going to get a couple of minutes. There's nobody who's actually going to speak from the sponsors. We're just going to play a couple of videos, show a slide or two about what they do, and then we'll move into the actual presentations. Devon could not be here in person. I'm not sure. She might be watching on the live stream. She said she was going to try to. So she might be participating that way. If we do have questions and we can see her comment on them there, that would be cool. But otherwise, with no further ado, I'm going to say a little bit of a thank you from our sponsors. And here we go. So this event works with, let me see. Yeah, okay, cool, let's switch. So this event, we have three main sponsors. BUNDLAR, which is my company. I'll be, you know, full disclosure there. But they do pay for the time that I take to coordinate this event and host this event and do all the work that I do for it. And in addition to BUNDLAR, there's 1871. 1871 is a co-working space in Chicago, for those of you who are not familiar. You'll see a slide from them shortly. But basically, 1871, I want to say there's about 400 companies based out of 1871, which is at the Merchandise Mart in Chicago. It is Chicago's technology hub. It's their incubator, and they are, you know, like everybody else, hit by this since nobody can be there in person at the moment. And finally, the VRAR Association. The VRAR Association is the worldwide association for virtual reality and augmented reality technology. Anybody who's producing technology or anybody who wants to work with it, it's a really important group to be associated with. I'm the Chicago chapter president. They sponsor this event. And ultimately, you should get to know them if you're going to be working with the tech, because basically they're going to have resources that you will need. And with no further ado, I'll go into their real quick slides. This is BUNDLAR's information. BUNDLAR is a platform. It's an enterprise content management system for augmented reality. I'm going to leave this slide up there for a few more seconds so you guys can read it and so that the live stream catches it. And that way, you know, I'm not someone who likes to read PowerPoints. But this is BUNDLAR, and they've given us a video to play. The voice on it might sound familiar, so while it's playing, I'm just going to shut up. And here we go. Are we hearing audio? Shoot me some emojis if we're hearing audio on this, guys. If not, I'm going to go and reset it. Okay, you guys are hearing audio at least. All right. Tom, how's it looking to you? No? Anyone else in the room? Yes, no's? Shoot some emojis up if you're hearing things. I'm going to try and go back and reset this. Let's go back. I'm going to do a quick room reset. Let's try that again. Sorry, folks. All right, we're going to try it one more time. That's kind of funny. All right, I'm unmuting the room for a second. Can you guys hear this at all? Can you guys hear the video and see the video? I know it is different for different players.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to leave that up then and let you guys play it.
It's playing just fine.
I'm not seeing it.
All right, so I have been told by the people who run the event that if you're not seeing this, you should try to just go out of the room and come back into the room, which I'm actually going to do with my web viewer real quick to see how that works. Sorry, folks. Augmented reality is a technology that enables you to place digital content in the physical world with a smartphone or tablet. Video, audio, call-to-action digital buttons, and animated 3D objects appear in context of what the camera sees on a user's phone. By using the BUNDLAR platform, businesses and institutions can effortlessly integrate immersive AR technology into their communications platforms, helping you reach your customers, employees, and vendors through an easy-to-use augmented reality content management system, API, and mobile application framework. With our Publish Reality mobile application, you can enhance your static print and digital media and turn magazines, catalogs, mail, and menus into personalized experiences for your customers to pique their interest. Using Campus Reality, visitors can immerse themselves in AR tours with location-based digital guides to help navigate and inform them about the campus. Increase attendee engagement and provide valuable interaction data to exhibitors and sponsors at trade shows using Expo Reality, a simple augmented reality version of the passport-style treasure hunt game that's been a staple of the industry for decades. The true power of the BUNDLAR platform is our ability to deliver augmented reality applications with your branding, while utilizing any of the features available in our content management system and proprietary API. We take the complexity out of the technology, so for your customers, it's as simple as point, click, wow. By using branded AR applications from Bundle AR, companies and institutions such as Procter & Gamble, Arizona State University, the DuSable Museum of African American History, and Assa Abloy have elevated their relationships with trade show attendees, prospective students, museum visitors, and customers. To learn more about how Bundle AR's AR Made Easy solutions can revolutionize how you connect with your audience, please visit us at bundlear.com. Trade show attendees, prospective students, museum visitors, and customers. Done for everybody else. I see somebody in the front so I get that, but for me it's still wrong. To learn more about how Bundle AR's AR Made Easy solutions can revolutionize how you connect with your audience, please visit us at Bundle AR. Placeholder. So here we go. Okay. So sorry, to be clear, let me just again remind a little bit of how this works and a little bit about the room itself. We've been talking with the events people here at AltSpace, and so there are the situations, particularly with videos and slide decks, where a video may or may not play, and if it does, it may or may not be playing for you or other people in the room. So one thing is, if I do have a video playing and you can't see it, the first thing you can try to do is sort of exit out of the room and come right back into the room, and that should fix the problem. If that doesn't fix the problem, the other thing that I'll say is, ultimately, I don't know, we all see things a little bit differently. That's sort of how the technology works. So, sorry, give me 1 second. There we go. If we have problems, what I'm going to do is when I do post this video online, I will splice the actual videos in so that you'll be able to see them full stream if you want to watch the actual stream of it. That said, let's move on to the slide about 1871, which is here. There we go. So 1871 is, again, as I mentioned, it's a technology incubator in Chicago. This is who they are. This is what they do. Feel free to reach out to them if you're in the area. They do have all sorts of resources for technology companies. And with that, I will move on to the next group, which is the VRAR Association. VRAR Association, as I said before, is the worldwide association for this technology, and I've already taken a decent amount of time for the sponsor messages, so I won't say more. Here's the slide. You guys can all see it. This is what they do. And we're going to watch a short video from VRAR Association that is much shorter than the other one, and I will basically let it play for about a minute and then move on whether or not I can hear it. In 1995, Microsoft bundled Internet Explorer with Windows, for the first time making a web browser part of the most popular computer operating system. By the year 2000, if you didn't have a website, you regretted it. In the year 2007, Apple launched the iPhone, kicking off the mobile revolution. By 2010, if your organization wasn't executing on a mobile strategy, you'd already fallen behind. In 2016, Microsoft released the HoloLens, Facebook launched the Oculus Rift, and HTC released the Vive. In 2017, Apple and Google made augmented reality part of the operating system of nearly every mobile device on the planet. Hindsight is 2020. What's your virtual and augmented reality strategy? Need help? Join the VRAR Association. Okay. And hopefully you guys all saw that video and it worked out well. Video does seem to be moving a little bit better on this time. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about again is that our first presenter, who could not be here in person, is recorded a 10-minute video presentation with us. So hopefully this will work well for her and you guys will be able to see it. If we do run into problems, again, like I said, try to exit the room and come back into the room. I'm going to let it play for just over 10 minutes, whether or not I can hear it. And then, I know how long the video is, so if it doesn't seem to be working in the room, I will splice it into the live stream after the event. But here we go with Devon, who is a media designer from Gilbane, and she actually spoke at our last AEC event last year as well. She's a great speaker, so here we go with her presentation, and thank you very much.
Hey everyone, this is Devon Rutkowski from the media studio in Gilbane Building Company. I am actually from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm supposed to be traveling down to Chicago today and present for you. So unfortunately, with some computer restrictions, I wasn't able to join you in AltSpace, but I hope that's all going well. And I really wish I could be there, but unfortunately I will be just doing a presentation for you. But here we go. I'll just jump right into it. So I work for Gilbane Building Company, which is a family-owned, privately held, family generation held company, and we were established in 1870 with over 3,000 employees worldwide. So like I said, I come from Milwaukee in the media studio, and we are actually the only in-house media studio within the company based in Milwaukee. There are 6 members of us that serve the entire company to all regions. This has given me a ton of great exposure to coworkers and relationships around the country. I'm constantly talking to everyone, East Coast, West Coast, Houston, everywhere. We have a ton of different key market sectors that we work for and build for. Federal, higher education, K-12, residential, healthcare, commercial, and so on. So we have about 18 core market sectors, and so I'm basically never bored modeling different models every day. So we get involved from day one when the business development managers want to propose and present for a project that we want to win. We use technology to look at the project holistically and conceptually. How are we translating that? So how do we do that? I am constantly talking to either the business development managers or actually project teams, operational teams that are on the field building these buildings. If I didn't have their information, I wouldn't be able to make this stuff up. I went to school for art and design, so what I'm doing is I'm translating their construction markups and their plans and translating that into something simpler to people who never seen plans before. And that's great for me because I can kind of translate that to a way that I never used to see these plans every day. So I get this information from the construction workers. So this is actually a really nice markup on the screen. It's really nice compared to some of the napkin sketches I've gotten, but that's our job, is to take these napkin sketches and ideas and turn them into actual projects. For example, this is one 3D model that shows exactly what the information that the client would want, where the fence lines are going, where the gates are going, where cranes will be, where the potential swing radius are, where trucks are coming in and out, and how the public is being, how they're being moved around, or if they're not, if they're keeping it normal, that's good for them to know too, to translate to the public. And so once we give that to the clients, then it's a little easier for them to understand a construction plan or a construction worker talking in their lingo. They may not understand that necessarily. So through this presentation, I'm just gonna go through the main things. I work in pre-construction, so everything on the left-hand column is where I live, but we do use technology throughout the whole construction process: pre-construction, construction, and post-construction. Our workflow in the media studio is starting with Autodesk Revit. We'll usually get the drawing plans from the architect, and then we'll create that model in Revit, translate and convert that model into Autodesk Maya, clean up some geometry, clean up some mesh, assign some materials, and then we easily flow that into Unreal Game Engine, where we can get realistic lighting and textures and executables from there. And I can go through what we can execute from there after this. This is our normal day-to-day work. We're usually doing 3D models of the construction process. Again, this is a lot of communication skills that we need to talk to the construction workers with and say, okay, what's our plan of attack? How are we building this building? Are we going from east to west, north to south? And if it's a campus, you know, how are we bouncing around and how are we managing our time? So this is a typical thing that we usually show the clients so they can understand timeline wise, you know, where will we be in this year or that year. Another thing that we're working on is interactions, having VR usage, creating material swaps throughout. So it's kind of a mini game basically for the client, showing them what, like this condo unit, for example, is changing colors or flooring, making decisions for possible tenants ahead of time too. Another thing we're doing in VR that's really cool is a community outreach with the Stars and Stripes Honor Flight. This is for, we created this for veterans who are too sick to fly for the actual honor flight where they go to DC and see the memorial. This way they can do it in VR. And one of the stories was when my manager showed this off when he was, after he made it, was that one of the veterans went in it and they actually started to reach out and try to touch the wall, which was not there, but pretty touching and just a really awesome, unique tool. Back into construction, we do use these for virtual mock-ups. What you see here is sometimes what they mock up in real life, and if we can do it digitally, obviously saving time and money cost-wise. So everything that you see here in the digital diagram is what we can do digitally too in renders. Our virtual mock-ups have been super helpful just because the rooms are almost identical with the final product. It can let our client rely on us and our models to make cost-saving decisions and trust that our models contain a ton of value. This was another example that I showed for our Gilbane Houston employees. They moved to a newer area, tenant space to work in. And so they were able to walk around this room in VR before they were even there. So you could kind of see like their break room, where they were sitting, their meeting rooms, etc. So the first time I actually went to this actual office was last November. So it was kind of weird because I felt like I was already there because I had built this model already in VR. We're also working with drones, which has been, we've been using them a ton around Milwaukee, I know at least, and around the country. But this drone orbits around an existing building, collects data points, and creates a 3D model mesh that we can work with, and also our virtual design and construction team also works with throughout the whole process of construction. But we can also use it for pre-construction and use that model to add our future models or additions or renovations right next to it. So it's got a lot of value within just that drone imagery. We can also use them for the top-down aerials, gives us the newest updates of the aerial, and then we can place down some utility lines, site plans, whatever is needed for the construction process. Along with the drones, this is one of our captures that we put in Unreal Game Engine, which was awesome to put in our point cloud because never have I been able to use a point cloud. It's always crashed Autodesk Maya when I've tried to use a point cloud, or it comes in as a very ugly mesh. As you can tell, it's not perfect because it's got a lot of reflectivity. So all those spots that you see are because it's having trouble with the reflections on the actual existing building. So for this hospital, we are actually scanned the area, and what you see with the orange and green are elevation plans. And so what we did was we used this for adding the addition of the hospital right next to the point cloud model, which was very awesome and super accurate too. And another next value proposition would be to have, we have a 3D print layer that we've been using for a demo for a while. And then using AR, whatever device our client needs or has, an iPad, a phone, whatever they have, they can, and if they don't want to use VR goggles, I understand there are still some people out there that don't want to put on the headset. I get it. They can turn on their phone and use this 3D print on a Google aerial, scan the little code on a Zapper app, and then our coworker here programmed to show steel, crane location, fence location, and they're able to move around the entire print and show a little bit more information, show some phases and an animation. We've been using Unreal Game Engine for almost every project now, or Twinmotion. Just very quick, quick executables. So this helps us give interaction, multiple perspectives, limitless opportunities, or limited control for some users. Some users don't like having freedom, WASD. They don't like having all those controls. So we've been really trying to use Unreal to make interactive environments, but have it controlled a little bit. So we've been able to use these for presentations in the future, hopefully a lot more too. So that's what I have for our presentation. We offer a lot. I went through all this in a very quick amount of time. If you have any other questions, I will give my information, and then if you need to contact me by phone, email, whatever, feel free to ask me any questions. But again, I'm sorry we couldn't be all together for this, and I'm super excited to present, and thank you for listening.
Okay, thanks everybody. So again, that was Devon Rutkowski from Gilbane. Her information, so again, this is one of the things I do want to stress. This event is about you guys, so before I invite Meg to the stage, the thing you guys should know is that the presenters have put their LinkedIn information and their contact information. If you go to VRARChicago.com and you search for this event, every event we've ever hosted on any topic we've ever done, it exists on VRARChicago.com. If you go to events, you can go backwards in time, and there's links to the live streams because we've live streamed the past several of our events, as well as each page has a list of who the presenters were, and those presenters have, in many cases, given us their either their LinkedIn or their Twitter or their Instagram or their Facebook so that you can contact them if you want to reach out to them for any reason. If you guys could, I know I've got everybody muted, so if you could just shoot some emojis just to make sure you guys all heard all that. And then I will invite Meg to the stage. All right, I see some of those. That's great. So Meg, come on up. And next we have Meg Miller from Gensler, and I don't even know if I'm saying that. Am I saying that correct, Meg? You should already be megaphoned. Can everybody hear Meg?
I don't even know.
Yes? Okay, cool.
Yep.
It sounds like you're good. It's Gensler. Okay, I'm going to go to the other side of the stage, and I'm going to mute myself, and if you need me to change slides, just let me know, and I'm going to go hit your first one right now.
Sounds good. I'm going to try to move myself. Sorry, guys. I am in a headset with a controller trying to figure this whole thing out. Hi. This is super cool. Thank you guys so much for having me. I actually did a talk, I think it was almost 3 years ago now, while I was at my previous role, and I'll speak to a couple of projects that I've done in the past, but you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So just a quick overview about me. I have been working in VR, AR, real-time technology for about 8 years now. Like I said, I'll talk about my previous role and kind of how I got started. But one thing as I start talking that I like people to know and understand about me, my whole background is project management. I was a producer in my previous job. I've always been very client forward, heavy client relations person. So I'm not super technical, just in case there are any technical questions. I'm the first to say I don't know. If you ask me a question, I don't know, but just so you guys are aware, I started as a receptionist, and like my first day being trained was like, okay, you are the first point of contact for a client. You're their first introduction to this company, and kind of their first taste of what their experience is going to be like here. And my whole career has kind of honestly built off of that moment, and this interest in technology, but also an ability and a desire to help translate some very complicated ideas. I mean, for those of you guys who have worked in VR, it's not something that you just pick up and run with right away. I mean, obviously some of the hardware is being more and more simplified, and there are some things you can pick up and run with, but a lot of people, especially those who haven't had headsets on, like really don't know what they're getting into, and really don't understand the value that it can bring. A person that I used to work with always loved the Henry Ford quote of, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And I think we're getting a little bit past that point in VR, but definitely in the early days, it was, people said, I don't want VR, I don't need VR, why is this a thing? And I gotta find it, but my favorite YouTube video is actually people being interviewed about cell phones when they came out, and everyone's like, I don't want a cell phone. Why would people want to contact me outside of my home or my office? And look at us now. And it kind of goes back to that video we were just watching a little bit too. It's like you have to adapt these technologies and you have to understand them sooner rather than later, so you're ahead of the game. Anyway, so that's me rambling a little bit. You can go to the next slide. And I'll get into my past career. So I used to work at Frame Store. I started my career in New York, like I said, as a receptionist, and very quickly moved into what was called the digital team. Digital was kind of all, yeah? Oh. Is that better? Yeah. No. I'm glad you did. Seeing lots of clapping and hearts. So, oh no, sad face. Mic volume. Hang on. Is that better? Is this better? I found another button. Yes? Yay. Okay. The sad face turned to clapping hands, so we're good. Okay. Frame Store. Okay. So I was a receptionist at Frame Store, New York. Quickly switched over to, like I said, the digital team. At the time, that was kind of a mishmash of things, some websites, but the big thing that we were playing with was real-time technology and working at this traditional visual effects company. How can we take these assets that clients are paying for, like the Geico Gecko, for example, is a big character that's done out of that office, and how can we give our client more and more interactivity and more for their money? Anyway, so that got us into Unity and Unreal and all of those fun things. And so when the DK1 came out on Kickstarter, we were just thrilled. We got one in the office right away. And the first project we did was actually that Game of Thrones exhibit image that you see there. That is, you can't really tell, but it is a DK1 on their head. That was before Facebook was involved or anything. And it was kind of the first real use of commercial use of VR. It was incredibly successful. And when your first client is HBO and you have Game of Thrones content that you can then demo for new clients, it all happened very quickly. And before we knew it, we were getting calls every day from things to, things that made sense, like Marvel, and things that didn't make sense, like toilet paper. Not really fun to make a VR experience trying to sell toilet paper. So we came up with all sorts of ideas. But anyway, this is, the summary in all of this is I was in entertainment, in advertising, doing VR that was very quick turnaround, very scrappy is a word that clients love to use when they don't have big budgets, and also very exciting. I mean, we were filming things in 360 cameras, having to hand stitch everything before automated stitching was a thing for compositing. But this is really how I got started, how I started loving the technology, solving problems in the technology, and seeing what's working, what's not working. And then when we get a call from a client that says, hey, I want a VR, learning how to facilitate that conversation, because we always use a metaphor of, it's like building a house. Do you want 2 bedrooms? Do you want 5 bathrooms? Do you want a pool? Do you want a movie theater? And helping them understand that I can't just give you a number and a price and you magically get a VR. It's a process just like anything else. Which brings us to what I'm doing now, which we can go to the next slide. So Gensler is a very large, we've got about 48 offices, and I think 6,000 employees. It's an architecture firm. I say architecture, it's design and architecture. Architecture is certainly not the only thing they offer. They have interiors teams. The team I'm on is called Digital Experience Design. So what we're doing is looking at physical spaces, how people move through those spaces, and moments where there's opportunity for interactivity or data visualization, or you know, a lot of what we get is a screen on a wall, but you know, pushing for other ways to think about how to integrate technology into physical spaces. So two specific projects I'm going to talk about. The one on the right, so the one where it is a screen on a wall. This one is has been built. It's in Houston, if anyone's down there, at 1100 Louisiana. And our Houston office was doing an interior refresh of the space. And one of the things that was proposed that we got involved in was this very, very large screen. So the, you know, part of it is, okay, we have this large screen. It's kind of this blank canvas for us to put content. And, you know, instead of, let's say, giving them 50 videos, like, how can we think about this in a different way? And how can we use game engine technology to give them, I think we ended up delivering 72 hours worth of content, which could have never been rendered in time for the delivery. I think it's like a couple hundred different videos, but essentially coming up with a concept that was, you know, three different visual themes, different color palettes, different materials that could be swapped in and out, that's generative. So they turn on the screen, and let's say 16 times a day, this generative content comes up. But if you're standing there all day, you're never seeing the same thing twice. We also did a lot of outreach in the Houston community, talking to, for instance, the art museums, the opera houses, the zoos. NASA is down there, which is great because they have all kinds of fun content. So, and thinking about this as an experience, and when people are coming through the space, how they feel connected to Houston, how they're, you know, looking at content in this space. But VR specifically was a way that we used to get approval on all the concepts for the screen. So my team uses Revit. It's pretty standard for architecture. That space, you know, these renders exist, the space exists in 3D. And all we had to do was map our motion studies for the concepts onto that screen, and give our client a headset, and he could say, okay, so this content is going to be on the screen, and that content is going to be on the screen, and very early in the concepting phase be able to say, okay, this is what we're thinking for this real-time system that we want to put up on your screen. It's going to cost you a lot of money, but here's a way to actually see it and understand what you're buying before you actually, you know, take the next step. So that is kind of one standard way of using VR for architecture is, okay, yes, you can look at materials and you can look at the space, but you can also look at video content, and if you're investing in a huge screen like that, you know, what are you going to put there, and how are you going to make that dynamic so that people aren't just seeing the same image or the same video over and over and over again. The other image that's right behind me is still under construction, and it's actually still being constructed. It hasn't paused quite yet, but I'm still waiting for that phone call. This is the AT&T Discovery District in Dallas. It is a project that our Austin team is actually working on, but I have been brought in to help because of my background in VR, and a lot of my understanding of how the people that are building the VR experiences are working and using the real-time technology. I help bridge that gap between Gensler, but also our clients. So this, so weird that I can't point or have like a laser pointer or something. I don't know if this hand really works. This silver. Oh, I do? okay, hang on. Oh, sweet. Yay! I love this. Okay, so this silver dome looking thing here is actually an interactive experience. So you will, if you're walking around this space, you'll hear the audio, you'll ideally walk over to the dome, and when you walk in, different audio and lights will be triggered based on, for instance, how many people are inside, where you're standing, what time of day it is. And so in order to make this all happen quickly, we are able to build the entire experience in VR, get the entire thing approved so that, and especially in this climate, we can get that far, put the entire project on pause until we're all able to actually travel and get down there, and then we just have the green light to program everything. So like, yes, there'll still be reviews on site and there'll still be testing. I don't think that's gonna completely get rid of all client feedback, but at least it should help the process be much smoother. And as a project manager, what I love is I will actually send a document to the client and get a physical sign off on what we've created. So when notes start coming in, you have something to go back to and say, hey, this is what you saw. Yes, it was in VR, but you did sign off on this. And not that we wouldn't continue to address our clients and always try to make the experience better. But for those who have done project managing before, know that the client will never stop giving feedback until you either have it perfect, which is pretty rare, or you run out of money and time. So yeah, I think this is a particularly interesting use case of VR, like I said, because especially right now, like I was literally supposed to be in Dallas this week working on this install, and obviously I'm not. I'm in my sweatpants giving you guys a talk, but it allows us to continue to move forward. I have all the audio team, the team in Montreal that's doing the development, and my team, still working and still doing client presentations until this is approved. And like I said, then waiting until we can get down there. So I love that VR has allowed us to continue working for many reasons. But one is, it's just, I think it's in a time like this where you're hearing a lot of projects being put on hold, to at least hear one that's still moving forward and in the right way is nice. Okay, you can go on to the next slide. So the future. I'd love to say this is blank because I'm giving you a blank slate to think about all the wonderful things you're going to make in VR. It's actually blank because I can't show you any images of stuff that we're talking about for the future. I obviously am under NDA with my company and can only show you the things that are under construction right now and the things I'm working on right now. And even those 2 images which have been released, there's more coming as these things get their official PR. But we are, as an architecture firm, thinking about more than just physical space and buildings. And I actually was just telling Matt, I had a conversation today with someone about virtual space. And there's a lot of people at our company that are really, really interested in virtual space and what that means for architecture. I mean, we're already building these real buildings in VR for review purposes. So what's stopping us from, yes, I understand that there's graphics issues, and if we're going to make it super realistic, we have to think about limitations of game engines and graphics cards and all that kind of stuff. But, this space right here, this could be something that an architect has touched and influenced and thought of all these crazy ideas that might not be able to exist in a physical space, more than just a not knocking the room. It's beautiful, but it's a brick cube, kind of a cube, with bricks. So maybe there's something else we can do here, and especially now with everybody working the way they're working, there's just so much opportunity, and I guess I just always like to let people know that you might not be seeing it. It is happening. Like I said, Gensler is a massive, massive company with a lot of architects that some of which are excited and dreaming about these things, some of which are a little bit more stuck in their ways. But, Gensler is the type of company that really puts this stuff forward and gets it out there in front of, like I said, clients that might not necessarily understand why there's a need for this technology or how it can benefit them. That's really all I've got. Oh, am I able to call on people if they raise their hand? Or do you want to open it up to questions? Okay. Okay, I saw some hands raise it.
So here's how this is going to work. And I got a megaphone myself, so give me a couple seconds. There we go, on megaphone. All right. So how this will work is in a few seconds, I'm going to turn on a setting here, which allows me to basically say audience participation, which means you guys can raise your hands. It looks like we only have one room going at the moment, but ultimately people, if we do fill up, people can raise their hands from all sorts of rooms. So I'm going to call you by your username if I see that your hand is raised. And when that happens, basically once I call your name, you should be able to talk and everybody in all rooms should be able to hear you. And that's how that's going to work. So there should be a little button in your controls in front of you in a few moments that it's going to light up and say that you can raise your hands. If you would like to ask a question, feel free to raise your hands, and I'm going to talk directly to everybody on Facebook right now as well. If you guys want to ask a question, I am watching the Facebook feed, so if you have a question, feel free to ask it in the comments of the live stream, and I will be able to read them in the room. So that said, you guys should all be getting a notification right now that hand raising is allowed, and I'm already seeing the first hand up.
Oops.
So.
Oops. Sorry,
What's
I
up?
was trying to put the laser pointer down.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It'll eventually just go out of your hand. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh, okay.
And I see lots of hands going up. So the first one, oh, this is a familiar name. Look at that. So Mr. Rob Thurl from Toronto, I believe, actually. Rob, can you talk? You should be able to broadcast to the room right now. All right, I'm not hearing Rob. Give me a second, and I'm going to try and turn your microphone back off and back on. Give me just a moment. Try again, Rob.
Oh, okay, I think it's working now.
Yep, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks for that presentation. That was really interesting. And I understand from, so I'm an educator at a community college, and we have an architectural technology program, and they integrated virtual reality a couple of years ago into their curriculum, and they use Revit, which was mentioned in the previous presentation and in yours. I'm just curious, what software platform do you use for interior design? Is it the same program, or is there something else that's kind of an industry standard?
Yeah, that's a good question. Revit is pretty standard at this point. I honestly haven't worked super closely with an interiors team quite yet. I mean, like I said, there's always interiors teams involved in the project, but I personally stay a little bit more technology focused. But I can definitely find out and let you know. But you know, everything I've heard is pretty much Revit.
All right. The next one is Mr. Bob58. Give me a few seconds. Mr. Bob58, try asking your question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm very interested in your companies and stuff like that, and I'm a manufactured engineer. That's what my major was. I'm semi-retired, so I'm a substitute teacher. And I am trying to introduce this to the high school kids because I believe this is the future, you know, one of the avenues of the future for the kids. So I thought maybe later on I can maybe someday get in touch with you guys and help me maybe introduce this to the high school to, you know, to teach them in maybe in their technology classes.
Yeah,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
Go ahead, Meg.
Oh no, I'm always happy to do presentations for kids. I think it's I certainly didn't know about all this when I was in high school, so I kind of wish someone had told me, you know, these worlds and opportunities there. So happy to do a talk, and you can certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Bob. Generally, I do turn people's microphones off after they're done asking. So if you need to talk again, just raise your hand again, and I'll try and get back to you. But that said, I would definitely say try to connect with the VRAR Association. My information, you'll see, it's very easy to find me. My picture is up there on the slide behind me right now. My contact information will be on the next slide as soon as we finish the Q&A portion, and I'm very easy to reach through any of the channels about actually running this event. You can find me. But VRAR Association does have a lot of resources specifically for students and specifically for educators. There's actually an entire education committee, so getting people access to the technology and the resources they need to be able to, learn about this tech. The one thing that I say a lot is, this tech is very much like the web in a certain degree. It's going to touch everything we do. It's going to be something that we use on a day-to-day basis in the coming years. And this is going to be basically the interface for how people interact with data. We've been interacting with flat screens for a lot of years, and this is where it's going to go. So absolutely, high school students should be learning it. And we want to make sure that you get access to the resources you need to do so. That said, I do have one more question in the room that I'll get to in just a second, but I have actually a question from Facebook, and I'm going to direct this one to Meg initially. The question being, in each of the segments, architecture, engineering, and construction specifically, how are you seeing AR or VR dominating the fields? Oop.
I don't know if...
myself.
No, I know. That's why I was trying to get rid of the laser pointer, because now I can't select anything, so I just get the laser. I keep teleporting myself instead. Dominating is a strong word. I don't know if it's dominating. It's something that we're using. It's a tool that we're using, and I think one by one clients are understanding how it benefits them. It's something that we always offer, but obviously you need to include in budgeting. So if they don't want it, they don't get it. Or that said, when there's a large project and we can make it work, we do. But I think it's continuing to get people exposed to why it's so useful and how it does benefit them. We'll continue to see it grow and see it be standard for every project.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that I'll add to that too, and this comes up again a lot like right now, because we're dealing with a situation where people aren't working together. It is a lot easier to do certain types of collaboration when you're in a space where it seems like you're working with somebody. So, like this one's a little bit different. It's a little bit difficult for us to be like, collaborating, working on something in this space. But if we have, shared desktops or shared workspaces, things like that, it's easier to do. And the one thing I'll say, you had brought up earlier about how architects and designers are looking at, not just how they're using AR and VR to design for the physical world, but also how they're looking to design for AR and VR. I had a conversation earlier today with another event technologies person who's a lighting designer. And one of the things that I had explained from a previous experience at an event that I was at 2 years ago, was that we had done a virtual reality environment of a stage. And it was actually, it was kind of a demonstration. So there was an actual event going on, and there was a stage in a ballroom at a hotel. And what we had done in VR is we had recreated the ballroom and we had recreated the stage. And the one thing that I did a little bit differently, because I had a background back then in lighting design, was I actually placed lighting, theatrical lighting, in the virtual space like I would have if it was a physical space, and it made a difference. Like, it made the stage look like it actually looked in real life, as opposed to just, kind of like we have in this room, where there's some depictions of stage lights. If you guys all look up on the rafters, it looks like there's stage lights up there. But in reality, those aren't actually providing the light for the room. The room's kind of just in this general lit mode. But what I did in that particular room was that I darkened the actual ballroom, and I used stage lighting to light the stage, and it looked a lot like, a lit stage in reality. And the cool thing is, your skills translate. We're doing stuff in software and virtual environments, but if you know how to design in the real world, then you know how to design in augmented reality or virtual reality as well. I don't know how to design a building, so it's kind of hard for me to do. So that said, we'll go back to our next question, which is Ian B. Craft. Give it a few seconds. And Ian B. Craft, can you try asking your question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, perfect. Thanks for your presentation, Mike. This was really informative and enjoyable to watch, so appreciate you being here. And as somebody who's just getting started, like very basics of virtual production, I'm curious what your first resources you'd recommend are, and also what kind of tools you think are just the absolute necessities for virtual production.
I mean, definitely Unreal. I know Unity's great and a lot of people are using it, but I know you heard in both presentations, really using Unreal heavily. I'd also say for someone getting started, and I know this is hard because there's a lot of different headsets and, you know, for some of them require some not cheap setups, but exposing yourself to as many virtual reality experiences as possible, because you can tell right away when you're talking to someone and they've maybe done one or two, or they've done the roller coaster, they've seen a 360 video, and that's about it. I think where you get really interesting conversations and where it would benefit you, you know, in an interview situation is being able to speak to, you know, your favorite experiences and why, or your least favorite experiences and why, like what makes you nauseous, what, you know, is comfortable. And because I think one thing that happens to me all the time is I get people that have these great ideas and I hate, you know, I never want to be the person putting ideas down, but there's also a realistic aspect to it of, you know, what's going to make people nauseous, what's going to be comfortable, what works and what doesn't work. And the reality is that some things work and some things don't. And having as many examples and as best understanding of that as possible is a really simple but powerful way to start.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that, just because you dug on it a little bit, is Unity. Unreal and Unity, at the end of the day, they're both gaming software engines. The big difference, it used to be a couple years ago, I would have said that kind of Unreal is, if you want to do stuff that's photorealistic and that's industrial and really good looking and it's going to be, you know, great rendered and lighting and all that sort of stuff, you use Unreal and, you know, not kind of shy away from Unity. And Unity is going to be more if you kind of want things a little bit more, you know, like this space, a little bit more cartoony, but probably a little bit easier to spin up, a little bit easier to learn quickly. Those lines are kind of shrinking. Like it used to be that Unity had a huge developer community and a huge set of forums and a lot of online resources that made it very easy to learn, whereas Unreal had a much steeper learning curve. Now, you know, there's some better resources out there for learning Unreal, and you know, Unity at the same time, you know, the rendering that Unity can do is getting powerful now, so it's almost, you know, I would say that those lines are blurring, let's put it that way. But I would definitely, you know, personally, I don't favor one platform over the other. I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and it really depends on the project. But yeah, I would definitely say, like, if you look at the architecture firms that are doing things, they're pretty much almost all using Unreal. I think a lot of that, though, has to do primarily with the tools like Revit being, you know, having the direct tie-ins and things like that. And whereas I don't think those ties are directly built for Unity yet. Okay,
yeah,
so
that's totally fair.
The next question, I'm not going to try and guess your name, but it's basically 4RRRRR53. Give it a couple seconds and you should have your microphone turned on. Although, hang on a second, that did not work well. Give me a second. I'm giving this person one more try. And actually, it looks like they may have left the room or they may have just canceled. I'm not sure. So, with that said, we are going to go to the next question, which is Amelia Calder. Amelia Calder.
You gotta be quiet.
Amelia, you there?
Hi.
Amelia, you there?
Can you hear me?
I do hear you and I hear an echo. So I'm going to stop talking until you're done with your question, and I'm going to get you.
All right. My question is, do you guys have any safety plan in place to prevent people from turning this into, you know, any inappropriate, you know, show, so to speak?
I mean, there's certainly inappropriate uses of VR, and I think a lot like the internet, you're not going to be able to stop all of it. It's just a natural progression of technology, unfortunately. I'd look to the internet kind of for how that's initially was kind of free for all and a bit crazy, and now we're learning, safety and what you should and shouldn't be doing in those situations. So, it's part of the learning process with technology. It's going to happen, but it's a free world.
Yeah, I mean, in particular for this event, kind of the controls, what it's really night and day what you see across different tools and different environments. Oops, apparently I just looked straight up. They have, in this particular environment, when I did this event 2 years ago, they didn't have all the moderator tools like I have right now where I can mute the room. So, right now, none of the people in the room can talk, and myself as the host of the room and Tom over there moderating as well, kind of helping me out in case there's an emergency, we can mute everybody. So if somebody decided that they were going to start trying to be inappropriate and trying to scream and do all sorts of stuff like that, we can turn them down. And on top of that, people can message Tom or they can message myself if somebody is like standing in front of them or being annoying or whatever. I've actually personally already messaged a few people who were kind of standing around by the front of the stage, or they were standing up by the web stream position. And I basically said, please just move. If they don't, I also have the ability to boot them. I haven't luckily had to do that yet, but that's just one of those options that we do have as a moderator, and it's cool that AltSpace has given event people these tools. I'm sure as we see the platforms and the technology develop, more and more of this is going to come about. That said, I also assume that there are going to be people who have, let's just say, adult use cases for virtual reality, and I don't expect that to just go away. So it's one of those things that's going to be there. And at that point, it's pretty much just a matter of the audience, I guess, kind of like in real life. If you don't want to see it, don't see it. But in terms of controlling a space that you're currently hosting, I do like the tools that AltSpace has given us to be able to do that. So I have the ability to turn people's microphones on and off. I have the ability to boot people out of the room if they're, acting inappropriately. It's kind of neat. Next question is, the username is Napkins. It looks like it is Austin KNA. Austin, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Well, now we can't. We could for a second. All right, Austin, I'm going to give you a few more seconds. I heard you for a few moments there. And I'm going to guess this is going to be a no. Okay, sorry, Austin. I'm going to try and turn your microphone off and on one more try. Try talking again, Austin?
Yep.
Okay, let me hear you. Yes.
Okay, so I know you guys use Unreal and Unity, and also Revit. Have you guys run into any issues with importing from Revit? And I know you guys say that there's a lot of choppy lines and stuff like that you can go in and just clear up, but do you guys ever run into any problems that you, where you can't use those engines, where you need to do something different, or does it kind of just all blend in and you guys are able to do what you need to do?
Yeah, I'd say that would actually be a great question for Devon. I'm sorry she's not here. I'm not in those tools all day, every day. My team is. And if there was a major issue, they would let me know. But I haven't run into anything, but she would certainly probably have a better answer for you.
Devon is, I saw her pop up on the live stream, so we'll see if she wants to type up an answer on the live stream. It takes about 10 seconds for the delay to get to her, so hopefully if she's there, she can comment and we can read off in the room. In the meantime, I'll be honest with you, I have not personally played with Revit importing into Unreal, so I've played with Revit a little bit, I've played with Unreal a little bit, I have not done the two of them together. I have had to deal with other technologies where you're doing imports and exports across them. My understanding is as long as you kind of have, standard formats that go across different tools, they're relatively the same. With the Revit stuff that's coming in, the Autodesk CAD, so I'm trying to remember what the file format is. I don't know if you know, Meg. There's a specific file format that allows you to import CAD data across different systems. Do you know what that's called?
Not off the top of my head. I know
Okay.
it's floated around in my inbox somewhere.
Yeah, I've used it too. That's the thing, and I can't remember what it is. And we've actually used it in the past to pull CAD data into a 3D modeling program. But that said, it's not difficult to import from one to the other. They do, the tools work pretty well. There are sometimes issues with the model that you are pulling over, not necessarily, when you design certain things in CAD, they don't necessarily pull into 3D modeling perfectly because there is a little bit difference in terms of like meshes or textures or whatever you're using. That said, I think Rob and Mr. Bob, you guys had already asked, so I'm going to dismiss all the current hand raises and see if that works. Okay, cool. And that way, anyone who has a question or a follow-up question, feel free to raise your hand again now, and we'll take some more.
I'm also just going to warn you guys, I got a notification that my headset battery is starting to die. So it was fully charged when we started. So if anyone's counting, it lasts about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on the Oculus Go. So if I disappear, that's what's happened.
Anyone have any other questions? Doesn't necessarily have to be about AEC. We can talk about the technology, the industry. Meg's been around. She actually had some really cool entertainment stuff. I know you guys saw some Game of Thrones. Did you work on the bus that Framestore did?
I sat next to the team that worked on the bus, so I can answer some questions about the bus. I'm very close with the people that did go through that. Beautiful project. Very interesting behind the scenes. not the smoothest. Actually, the hardest part of that project was getting the transparent screens delivered in time for the windows.
Awesome.
It was an interesting one, yeah.
We got a couple more questions, so we're going to go with it's Kiddo King or J Ortiz 5991. Can you start talking? Excellent.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I came in a little bit late. My question is, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but what do you think in the future as far as the holographic or holograms, would they ever be introduced in AR or VR?
Can you be a little more specific?
Well, you think there, are simulators and, as far as, our images, you think they'll be improved through holograms or any other, technology?
I mean, in terms of using holograms, so hologram is a fun term because the hologram does actually have a scientific definition, of imagery having to do with lasers and things like that. I think if you're talking about like 3D projections in space using augmented reality, I know, so Devon made reference to that in her presentation, that they're using augmented reality already when they're trying to show models on, basically additional information on top of 3D models. My company, BUNDLAR, we have worked with architecture firms as well as at least a couple, I want to say 1 or 2 construction firms, I'm trying to remember exactly. But we've done work in these spaces revolving around this technology and actually, showing people, what a 3D projection of a building will look like before it's built sometimes, or, in terms of VR, placing yourself inside of the building. You're still trying to get rid of that laser pointer, it's funny. I don't know how to do it. I'll find out the next time.
I know, it's driving me crazy.
Did you have anything you wanted to answer on this question?
I can't click anything while I'm holding it. I always wonder when people bring up holograms, I always assume they're thinking about Star Wars and Princess Leia, and no, we're not there yet. Hologram technology, in my opinion, looks good on YouTube, but doesn't always look good in person. It's the Pepper's Ghost thing that's been around for centuries, really. So if you're talking, if you're talking holograms specifically, I'm a little a bit of a skeptic on it. I'm sure that it will get better and someone will crack it one day. It won't be me.
Well, and I mean,
if you're talking about image.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Bundle AR. We have the exhibit that we've augmented at the DuSable Museum on the south side of Chicago, where a 6 foot tall, 3-dimensional, animated Harold Washington welcomes you to his exhibit. So, is that a hologram? Well, I consider it an animated 3D model. I don't really look at that as a hologram, but that might be what you're talking about. And it looks pretty real. We showed it in the video that we had playing, the one that had a lot of trouble viewing. So, but that said, I do have a whole lot of hand raises up, and we're actually kind of coming close to the end of our time. So I'm going to try and get through some of these questions real quick. So starting with Mark Persad. Mark, oh hey Mark, can you try talking, Mark? Oh, you turned yourself off. I'm going to try and turn you back on one more time. Just try talking, Mark.
Hello? Yep.
Hello, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Perfect. This is awesome, so thanks, and thanks for the presentation. Meg, the question I have for you is around, how's the adoption from your clients been, and can you talk a little bit about apprehension that you're facing in the field?
Yeah, less so now. Initially, when we were doing this early, people were very worried about being nauseous. I know that was thrown around a lot in the early days, and like I said, there's do's and don'ts. And luckily, when you're looking at architecture, we're not throwing people around in a roller coaster. It's very different than some of the experiments we're doing on the entertainment side. I think what is intimidating for some of our clients is just a new piece of technology. It's a new thing. Like, you get handed something and you don't know how to even necessarily turn it on. I mean, I can't get rid of this laser pointer. I work in this medium. So there's that kind of unknown aspect. And that's where, we're not going to show it to a client unless we're there to either walk them through the process, or it's a really, really simple app. Where in the past, we've sent the client an Oculus Go because we think that's a great, simple device. There's no wires, there's no phones. It's just one thing we can package up and send over. And then we've used the VRAR app as well, where we can send them updated links and they can look at it. What we never want to do is ask our client to do something complicated, and I think they hear new technology and they kind of assume that's going to be the case. And then the other thing, and especially again now, is just sharing headsets. People are a little apprehensive about that. Again, like, I like to send my client a new, fresh Oculus Go, and it's theirs to play with and have. But if we are bringing them to the office, making sure everything's clean and sanitized, and they don't feel like anything's gross or has been used by tons of people.
Sounds good. I got a question for you specifically, Meg, from Facebook. As a project manager, what is your necessary technology experience level with AR and VR compared to the developers that are building the projects that you're managing?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And the funny thing is, I have seen a range. In my opinion, the more you know, the better, just because, like I said, what I do is bridge that gap and take, some complicated ideas and complicated technology and make it really digestible for our client. I personally like understanding what my team is doing, not to the point where I'm opening Unreal. Or opening even Maya or Revit or any of that. I know what those programs look like, but if you put me in front of them, Lord knows what you'd end up with. But I understand that those are pieces that are necessary. I understand which ones talk to which. So when I'm putting together schedules and I know who needs to pick up which aspect of the project, I can figure out the costs and the time and the schedule and all those things. And like I was saying before, and just going through as many experiences as possible and know what works and doesn't work. So when a client does come to us and say, hey, we want to build, for example, I actually had this happen. We want to build the Battle of the Bastards in VR. It's great. That's going to be crazy expensive because I know how that's built and I know what it takes to build I don't even know how many horses were in that fight scene. And great idea, but you know, to be able to at least answer some basic questions, I think it is important to understand the technology. But you can get away without it. I've seen some people do it without really knowing anything.
Cool. So Meg, just so you know, I'm hearing your audio get a little bit choppy. So if you do kind of die out or jump out or chop out, I'll see what I can do. But
I got another notification, so I'll switch over to Facebook too.
Okay. So the next one up here is Scott Lynch from Voyeur. Scott, try talking.
Hey, does that work?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, so Meg, thanks for the presentation. I was just curious from like dealing with like these bigger clients on the entertainment side, what did it take to sort of get them to buy into VR? You know, it's expensive, it's unknown, it's new. Do you have any tips for like onboarding new clients in that space, in the entertainment space?
Yeah, I think, like I said, a lot of the initial calls were, oh, we heard this is a new thing. You know, we want to be in the media is using it. I think that first runs experience was so successful, and people saw people waiting in line for 4 hours at South by Southwest just to do a 90-second experience. It's a pretty powerful thing. And that particular project, our client, we weren't directly, there was an event company that was working directly with HBO, and then we were working with the event company. So there was a little bit, you know, we were still in touch with HBO, and obviously there was a lot we had to do to make sure we were being perfectly accurate to the show. Not that we all didn't watch it and knew everything about it. But, you know, to start off, to have a company like HBO that can kind of take a risk, to be honest, and want to do something really splashy for a festival situation, that really helped get the attention. And then from there, you know, a lot of it was, like I said, like, we want to be the first, and we want, you know, the articles, and you know, that happens for some experiences and not all of them. But I think a big part is just making sure the client understands that, yes, they're excited about a new technology, but like really making sure it actually solves the problem that they're trying to solve, and especially kind of going back to architecture. You know, it's a fun, flashy new thing, but if it doesn't solve the problem, and at the end of the day they feel like they wasted their money, then, you know, that's really part of your responsibility for me as a project manager, to make sure that they know what they're buying, they know what problem they're solving, and they know where they're partners for that. And if they're not happy in the end, that's as much on us.
Cool. I'm going to go to David Page. Give me a second. It's giving me trouble turning you on. Hold on a second. I'm wondering if he is no longer in the room, because it's not letting me turn his microphone on. So that said, I'm going to go to Bob Ledrack. Robert. Try talking, Bob. Or Robert. No? He's here. I can see him. He's right in the front row there. But it doesn't look like he is listening. So, that's fine. Actually, we've passed 7:30, which is when we said the Q&A was going to end. So, first of all, I do want to say thank you, Meg. Hopefully you're still here and your battery's doing okay, and that you're, I'm not sure if you're stuck at the point, because it looks like you're not moving. And she's gone. Look at that. She disappeared perfectly at the right time. But anyway, I do want to thank Meg Miller. I also definitely want to thank Devon Rutkowski from Gilbane for dealing with the technology issues, and, you know, spending the time to actually get on a phone call with me, or I should say a Zoom screen capture with me, and present so I could record so that we could actually play it here 2 days ago. She did that for us. What I'm going to do in a few moments is I'm going to actually open the microphones back up in the room so you guys can all talk to each other, and you can talk to myself and Tom, and if you want to ask any questions. I'm going to jump one more slide forward, and I'm going to show you guys, this is my actual contact information in case anybody, you know, if you have questions, you want to reach out to me, you have any questions about this technology, it doesn't necessarily have, happy to talk to you about anything that Bundle AR does, happy to talk about anything that the VRAR Association can offer. If you just want to talk about hosting an event in virtual space, obviously we've spent the last couple of days prepping for that, so it's been great. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, thank you very much for sticking in there. We've actually had a very big live stream audience. I want to say, I don't think it's gone below 9 the entire time the event's been up. But again, thank you everybody for coming out, for spending your time with us this evening. Before I open up the microphones, one last thing. We do this monthly. This event takes place every single month. We are going to kind of make the choice at this point. We are going to try and keep some stuff happening on AltSpace. I don't know if this exact event is going to take place next month in AltSpace, but we're going to, we're going to take feedback from how it went this time around. So if you guys have any messages, again, there's my email address. Email me, let me know if you have comments, if you have feedback, anything we can do to make it better. We're happy to accommodate or do what we can. Watch VRARChicago.com for information about next month's event. Our industry topic is going to be hospitality. And as soon as we have our expert panel lined up for that, we'll be posting information about it, as well as, when we have details about what the format's going to be, what the channel's going to be, how it's going to work. Because I'm going to take a wild guess and say that next month at this time, we're still going to be in social distancing world. That said, once again, thank you very much, everybody. And I am going to, open the microphones up. So give me a few seconds here to just dismiss all of this and open mics. And the room should be unmuted. You guys should all be able to talk. Somebody say something so I can hear you.
Hey.
All right, we can hear you. Cool. The room is open until at least 8 o'clock, so feel free to come around and talk some more. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here until at least 8 o'clock. Happy to answer any questions. And once again, yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. And those of you who are watching on the live stream, I'm leaving the live stream up too, so you can hear some of the conversation.